Hey yo, what's up, and welcome to my corner of the internet. Talking about anime that hasn't been finished, but I love them so dearly, D.Gray-man. Written by Katsura Hoshino, a dark fantasy adventure where we follow our main character, Alan Walker, who is an exorcist that becomes officially an exorcist with the Black Order, which is a dark organization, emphasis on dark because that's the total aesthetic of this anime. Dark because this is one of those animes that I think has a very clear vision of how it wishes to express itself, and it showcases it throughout every aspect of the story, and I think it's one of the best, and it survived during the era of the big three and continues on to this day, even though the anime has been discontinued. But the manga has, just as recently as just a week ago, has released new chapters, and unfortunately this story has not been finished, and I want to talk about it because I love it so much, and it's a hallmark story, and I think it has so many great aspects to it. So when you speak about anime that survived during the big three, they have to be amazing. They have to have some defining factor, and for D.Gray-man, it's the aesthetic, it's the art style, it's the story, it's the writing. D.Gray-man checks off all the lists that makes a great anime, and one for one, in my mind, it is a great anime. It just doesn't have that great ending, and it doesn't have the piece that ends everything, culminates all the loose ends, and fulfills a story. And unfortunately, this happens very often in anime, and I didn't realize how many unfinished animes there are out there, or animes that get terrible endings and ruin the story. And this happens way more often than I realize, because now I'm starting to think of video ideas, and then I think back, and then I go back and do some research, and I realize, wow, that totally botched it. And then you go to the manga and realize the story was just completely told incorrectly. But regardless, we're talking about D.Gray-man. So back to the story. Alan Walker is a very pivotal voice for D.Gray-man. I think this is one of the best main characters that fits the story immensely, because Alan Walker is in the middle. His place within the story is as an observer who has to take part and make decisions in this world. And who he's fighting against? He's fighting against the Akuma that are led by the Millennium Earl that makes demons out of the remains of human consciousness, greed, all these bad feelings. And these are very desperate times, because for most of the show, it seems like the Akuma and the Noah, which has very many of religious references, are winning for most of the story. Desperate, it feels like our main characters could die and lose at any moment, and this happens. A lot of characters die, a lot of bad things happen, but the great thing about D.Gray-man is the story has a main character always filled with hope. And it's interesting because he's basically like a teenager, a kid, and he's filled with so much kindness, hope, and love, and he's stuck in the middle. He doesn't necessarily hate demons, which are the Akuma. He doesn't necessarily even feel that he's the greatest of the greatest or the goodest of the good. He just feels like he's a person doing his best and making his choices. And I enjoy how wonderfully written Alan Walker is as a character. He's amazingly written. Like, he is important to the show, and I couldn't imagine any other character being in his shoes, and that's very rare. A lot of shonen are copy and paste, and Alan Walker is new, fresh, and interesting, and his choices are sometimes predictable because of who he is as a character, but they're very honest, and I enjoy that. Another important piece about D.Gray-man as a story is, in the beginning, it seems very black and white. The good is here, the evil are there, and we fight and we meet and we have these circumstances and instances. But as the story progresses and we seem to understand and we get more backstory to how demons become demons and understanding more about our enemy and Alan's conversations and afflictions and moments and some of the flashbacks, and the show does have filler, but the filler is excusable because it adds to the atmosphere of the show. But D.Gray-man's writing explodes as we see more of the nuances of gray. We start to see demons not necessarily being demonic, and we start seeing the good actually not being so good. And the story is unfolding, and we're beginning to experience the world differently. Our characters are changing, situations are changing, and Alan finds himself now excluded from the order, and this story is impressive, and I totally don't want to ruin it for you, but the writing is golden. It has a very natural flow. The story continues to unfold. One of the other things that I haven't even mentioned yet is the abilities showcased within the show. This show has a lot of abilities that have a lot of Christian and religious aspects and references. It's incredible how many references to the Gothic, and the aesthetic of this anime is solid. Like, stylistically, I know what D.Gray-man is every time I see it, and the abilities showcase such a thing. Even though it has its Japanese influences, its Catholic influences, it all has a singular voice, and it's incredible how the story has all these different aspects and conjoins them together. And the abilities are fire. Alan is unique in that because his powers at first seem a little boring, but as we get more and more into the story, and some of my favorite breakthroughs in the power system for Alan are incredible. それは人のために。左手。それは悪魔のために。安らかに眠れ。Alan is unique because he has the left arm of a demon and the left eye of a demon, which allows him to see demons because they are with the ability to transform. And I love the power system because very often, like a level 2 Akuma is like death, and then when you see a level 3, that was craziness. Then when you notice the Noah, which are basically the group that we have to be and we have to fight to end this war, the story unfolds with a lot of interesting characters. His companions are very interesting. Some of them fall into some tropes, but I think they all have their place within the story, and it's very important. But I enjoy the narrative of Alan and the interesting key points of his decisions, and also the people that mentor him, the people that inspire him, and the moments that make him question his decisions and make him question his place within this world. D.Gray-man has a very underrated subplot of discovery and oftentimes coming of age for Alan Walker and his counterparts, because they are kids. Like, as a teenager, he's pretty much a kid, and he has to deal with this harsh and very difficult world, and he has seen some things and seen some unfortunate ends and has a very traumatic and difficult story, just like all characters, but he has to go through these things because of his position in the world. And also, the fights are incredible. The powers, the moments, the desperation, the drama. Oh my god, this show is jam-packed with moments where you're not really sure what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to win. You're not sure who's going to lose. And oftentimes, just like in Murphy's Law, whatever can go wrong will. And I enjoy that about the story. And it's not annoying. It's more of a, where it's another hurdle for Alan and his friends, or the Dark Order to get over and stuff like that. And seriously, it has a lot of great fights and incredible powers are showcased, and I love the power system. I love how the characters don't necessarily just get Deus Ex Machinas, and even if they do, that doesn't mean they're going to win. It means they have to unfold and become very interesting characters, and they have to use their minds. They have to be smart. That's the most important thing in a fight, is who's smarter than the other, who can best the other, and who can deal with the adaptability of the other. And that's important for a good fight, and I can't believe D.Gray-man isn't mentioned often, but as I'm about to mention, I understand the reasoning for why.
くれると思ったよ、兄弟。今度こそお前を殺す。お前を殺して俺が千年伯爵になる。
Unfortunately, Hoshino has suffered through health issues like various other mangakas, and the story has changed publications, had other troubling issues, and D.Gray-man is just left in a gray area. Pun intended. Unfortunately, that's where the story is, and it seemed to be unfolding in a very sporadic manner. The latest chapter is still following up and building up the anticipation for key moments and key information, but unfortunately, D.Gray-man has lost all its hype, and the story is left in limbo. But I still remember, I still look out for it, and I still love it, and I will read it anytime I see it, and I'm venturing to the idea of probably rewatching it because I want to relive some of my favorite moments. So, if you love D.Gray-man and you feel how I feel, please like, comment, and subscribe. Comment, do you agree, disagree? What are some of your favorite D.Gray-man moments? And what are some other sleeper animes during the era of the big three that people just glossed over? Because D.Gray-man deserves much more love for whatever is there. Anyway, be easy.